a Monte Carlo here. This one is actually supercharged. Don't see too many of these. It's here because overheating. The owner said it was losing coolant and he thought it was this thing right here, so he replaced the tank. As you can see, it's brand new, as well as the hose coming from the tank to the radiator. And you can see how he routed it like this. Not the best work. But anyway, I noticed as soon as I took the cap off, I could see like coolant coming out of this line and dumping into the radiator. And it looks like he completely filled, well now it's not filled, but before he completely filled up the overflow tank. You know, this sits higher than the radiator, so of course it's going to want to dump into there. But I just put the pressure tester on it, and the only thing I see dripping is right off of here, right where this hose clamp is at, and it comes down and then drips straight down onto the floor. And the pressure test is showing we are losing pressure, but very slowly, and it just kind of corresponds to the small drip that we have right here. I was expecting to see like a major failure, or, you know, like the radiator or something, but that's not the case. And these elbows right here that are known for breaking, you can see someone's already done the upgrade. Those are the metal elbows, and they're not the plastic ones that came with the car. So I don't know what's going on here, because he says, okay, so the radiator's topped off. Well, not right now, it isn't. Look inside of here, you can see all the nastiness. I don't see any coolant. So I asked the owner, hey, I told you to fill up, you know, the cooling system before you drove over here so it doesn't overheat, and he said he did. It seems like what he did is he filled up the overflow tank, because that's very obvious. Like I said, it was coming back into the radiator. But it doesn't appear that he filled up the actual radiator. I think he's thinking that this is where you add the coolant, which, you know, you can't blame him. But yeah, I don't think he added any coolant to the actual radiator. So we're gonna have to do that, because without filling this up, who knows, we may have a leak at the radiator. But because there's no coolant inside of it, it's not going to show its face. And this explains why, even though he said he filled it up on the way over here, you know, waiting in traffic, he said it was overheating. And that's because he really didn't fill it up. It has to be done right here. Usually when people have overheating issues, they tend to keep like a gallon of antifreeze in the car. Oh, that's horrible. I could not deal with something like that. And another one. Inside of this car smells like cigar weed. And for some reason, the glass is open. You see there's snow on it, so it's I don't know, maybe it's stuck like that. Maybe it doesn't close. That sucks for when it rains. But I'm not seeing any antifreeze in the back seat. Let's go ahead and check the trunk. And bingo, told you. There's only a little bit left. Oh wait, there's another gallon right here. Sweet, this one's like filled. Alright, so we'll take both of these. Told you there's always antifreeze in a car that's overheating. 60% of the time, I'm right every time. Just giving the car a quick look over. All the brakes on it need to be done. All the tires are low. Of course, it's winter, so the tires get low. Yeah, front brakes, same deal. For some reason, this fender is smashed in like that. Don't know what caused it. But what's weird is it's also smashed in on this side. How did this happen in the first place? I don't understand. But clearly it's pushed in from the doors being swung open, and the door is hitting the fender, and it pushes the fender in. Yeah, this thing's it's a piece of crap. Alright, so we're just about there. This thing took just about half a gallon to get where we are. I've seen cars where I open up the trunk and there's like 5 gallons of antifreeze in the trunk, and they're all empty except for one. And the thing is, the reason why you see that is because they don't want to pay to get the car fixed. They probably took it somewhere at some point, got a quote, right, got an estimate, and they said, screw that, I'm not going to pay all that money, I'll just keep adding antifreeze. Well, at $15, $20 a gallon, whatever the heck it costs, $13 a gallon, it stacks up real fast when you keep buying antifreeze. And obviously, problems never get better, they only get worse. So whatever leak you had turned into a bigger leak over time, which equates to more and more antifreeze, more money. So this is what I'm telling you, I've seen trunks full of empty gallons of antifreeze. And you could probably see my breath in the video. And let's see, what are we at today? Just below freezing today. Alright, so I got it pressurized, but honestly I don't see anything dripping underneath the car. Yeah, so we're losing pressure, but it's very slowly. So it's a real minor leak, yet I don't see anything dripping off the car. Could this thing possibly have a blown head gasket? Maybe. I mean, look at all the crap that's in the cooling system, you know what I mean? Alright, let's go ahead and crank it. I don't hear anything that sounds wrong. Let's start it up. After I got it started, I wanted to add more coolant just to bring the level into the funnel so we could see if there's any bubbles or anything. But it actually took like another quarter of a gallon just to bring it out of the radiator. So it's really sucking in this antifreeze. This thing was really low on coolant. If I move the coolant out of the way, get the bubbles out, you can see it's still pushing up. Look at the air it's pushing out. Alright, so I think I'm done looking at this car. It's cold out here. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. I'm fairly certain that this is a blown head gasket. Now, here's the thing. He's been driving it while it was overheating. Alright, he even told me it was overheating on the way over here. Everyone who's wondering, here's the codes on the car. Get this focus. Alright, so the codes are just going to repeat themselves right here. But yeah, that's the codes that are on it. And it has a few ABS codes also. So it's the next morning. I decide to pressure test it again. And I move the car up so I actually can't see that it's dripping right here underneath the radiator. Just saw a drip hit the ground right there. We are losing pressure slowly. For a second or two, right here on the radiator, I know you guys can't see anything, but I saw a steady stream of coolant being sprayed out of the radiator. It was like a real fine mist almost. And all of a sudden it stopped. And I think that's why I'm having these false results with the pressure tester, is because you remember all that crap that we saw inside the radiator and it was on the bottom side of the cap. Or imagine if you got such a small pinhole like that and it's trying to press coolant out of it. Well, when those deposits that are inside of the radiator get to that little pinhole, it's just going to clog it up and it pretty much stops the leak. And that's where we're at right now. Even though the system is pressurized, it stopped dripping. And I know for a fact I saw it spraying out of there. So look inside of here between the fans. Look at the radiator, you see it? This thing is almost in the center of the radiator, and there's nothing else that's gonna, get antifreeze. Like, it's not gonna splash that far over here. The leak has to be within the radiator. You can see it right there. The radiator needs to get replaced. So that's where we're at. Another issue the owner's having is he said the key doesn't want to come out. You can see all of this is broken right here. Every time he wants to take the key out, he has to come in here and move this white piece of plastic manually to get the key to come out. So you can see if I put it in park, the key doesn't want to come out. Alright, but if I come down here, see this white piece of plastic is actually attached to this black box. This black box is attached to this cable or this line, and when you pull this up, you're gonna see it move. See the wire or the line moves a little bit further in, and once that happens, it allows the key to come out. So it's like a mechanical wire that's pulling, not a wire, I don't want to say, it's a mechanical cable that's pulling on something up here to release the key. Basically, when he puts it back in park, this white piece of plastic is supposed to come back up and return, but it just doesn't want to. I'm assuming because of all the crap and the dirt and grime that's fallen in this joint right here. So basically, it's just dirty. So I'm gonna try spraying some lubricant inside of here behind it and see if we could get it moving freely. Alright,
Alright, so you can see I sprayed some white lithium grease on it, and it does seem to be helping. It moves a little bit easier now. But one thing I noticed is, look back there. As I move the white piece, you see that metal rod moving back and forth? Yeah, okay, so we know it's directly connected to this white piece of plastic that has to move. If you follow it back here, let me see if I can get another angle on it. I'm assuming that's some sort of a piston. Okay, so it's connected to this thing right here. And I can see it has wires going to it. This plunger right here, I don't know if it's a plunger to actuate this and make sure that the key comes out every single time, or if it's just a switch to send a signal to something else. Not really sure about that. But I did spray some white lithium grease on the rod right there and kept making it go in and out, and it does seem to have loosened it up a little bit. So we're at the point where sometimes if you put it in park, it doesn't want to let go of the key. But if you just come over here and shake the shifter a little bit, come back to it, it comes out. And the reason for that is because you see the white plastic I was pointing out before? At this point it hasn't fully returned to where it's supposed to be, but if you shake the shifter a little bit, you can see it moved up just a little bit higher. And now that it moved up, that's what allows you to release the key. He said something about his, I think, turn signals. So let's start up the car and see what that's about. Yeah, we have no turn signal. Now I can hear a relay clicking, but no turn signals. Well, the first thing I do notice is the hazard switch is like pressed. Yeah, I think it's pressed in, you see it? So if, you know, a lot of times the hazard switch has a lot to do with the turn signals, because they're tied into the, see I just popped out right there? They're tied into the same system. So, you know, I would imagine if there's something wrong with this, it won't allow the turn signals to work as they should. I don't know, that's just all speculation at this point. I'm not in the mood to deal with this. I have other cars to work on. And I just noticed this. It's been hanging this whole time right in front of my face. But like, what the hell is that? Where's his rear view mirror? Sorry guys. Damn, why didn't you say bless you? Just like that. So yeah, I don't see a rear view mirror in here. It's, I swear this car came from a salvage yard. I'm getting ready to start taking everything apart so I can get the radiator out. And then I noticed, you know, I'm just standing right here, and right at the thermostat housing I could see it's wet right there. So I'm like, wow, we have another leak. First thing my eye caught is that we're missing a bolt right there. You can see there's no head. There goes the other bolt. And then if we look right there, there goes the broken off head of the bolt that belongs right there. Someone's been in here messing around. The head is snapped off of that bolt, and that's why we're losing coolant from there. So we have more than one leak here, so I have to call the owner. I'm trying to drain out the radiator from right here, and the valve is completely opened up, yet I'm not getting much out of it, and I have to keep using compressed air, you know, to come inside of here, give it little blips of air. Then you can see it starts to come out. It looks nothing but like rusty water. Yeah, this is taking way too long. I'm gonna have to find a different way to get the coolant out of it. Maybe just pull like a little radiator hose or something. And of course, everything here is loose. Like this thing wasn't even connected to the air filter box. Everything's loose. You can tell someone was in here messing around. There's no way in hell that bolt's gonna break by itself. And look at the engine mounts on this thing. Could rock this whole engine back and forth all by myself. I know the torque mounts are disconnected, but even all of these are severely worn out. It's just, this thing's a piece of junk. Of course, classic signs of a rodent inside of the airbox right next to the PCM. Ah, it's freaking nasty. I got the fan assembly off of the car, as you can see, and it gives us a better look at the radiator. And you can see where it was leaking somewhere in the center right there. And I believe it was also leaking in that lower corner. But yeah, so for the most part, the radiator is pretty loose. And I'm glad I got some work done tonight. It's really gonna help me tomorrow. I just wanted to get a jump start on all of this. It's actually like 2 a.m. right now, and the reason for that is because I was in the house, bored. You know, on YouTube, you're going down that rabbit hole of watching mindless, stupid videos on YouTube that don't mean anything but just eat up your time. So I figured, you know what, if I'm gonna waste time on YouTube, I might as well just come out here and try to get this head start on this radiator job. So I'm happy that I made this much progress. So it's now the next day. Talked to the owner. He said he knows nothing about this. You know, I gave him some options. I said, hey, we should replace the thermostat and the O-ring. But he just said he doesn't have the money. And if I did do the labor, he wouldn't be able to pay me till Friday. And honestly, this is someone I never worked for. So can't trust him as far as you could throw him, right? But I know, as well as you guys probably know, that if I replace this radiator and fix a leak at the radiator, but we do not fix this right here, it's almost pointless. Check this bolt right here, and it was very loose. Came off with no problem, and as soon as I loosen the bolt like one little turn, look at the amount of play we have right here. So you can see where it's leaking right there. We're gonna see if you could reuse the thermostat and the O-ring. I'm gonna take this one 10 mil out. And let's see if we can extract the other broken bolt relatively easy without too much pain. And if that's the case, it doesn't give me too much trouble, I won't charge him for fixing this. I get so many comments about how I should charge more, or yes, I should charge for that. And I agree with you guys. You know, like right here, I'm fixing other problems that are not related really to the radiator. It's a completely different leak. And on top of that, someone already snapped off a bolt. So yes, I should be able to charge for repairing this. But, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, everything goes easy. Alright, so I got the thermostat housing off. And first of all, look at all the crap that's in here. Second of all, look at that thermostat. That thing is wide open. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like there's something wedged inside of there. Is this one of those fail-safe thermostats? That if it fails in the open position? That's what I'm thinking. It's hard for you guys to see, but it looks like these little tabs right here on both sides is what's holding open this thermostat. I wonder if I knock back those tabs, the thermostat will close. Well, let's find out. I was able to get the plungers to come back down. You can see the thermostat is now closed. And I've always wondered how these fail-safe thermostats work. And I think I just figured it out. It is those small tabs on the side. So basically what happens in normal operation, when the coolant gets hot, you know, it's going to pull open the thermostat, you know, but that's only going to go so far because the engine is only going to reach certain temperatures. But once your car starts to overheat and the temperature gets really high, it's going to pull that thermostat open further than it normally would. And once that happens, that's when it engages these little tabs and it physically holds it open. So that's how one of these fail-safe works. So I hope that makes sense. The thing is, once I released the tabs and it came down, it didn't want to fully close. I had to like force it down and work with it. So I fear that this thing may have been stuck in its open position for so long that the spring is no longer strong enough. So what I'm going to do is just take it in the house, maybe clean it out with some hot water, and maybe even see if it still opens and closes fine when I put it in some boiling water. But honestly, I would rather replace it. It's such a cheap part, you know what I mean? Let's see if we can extract the broken bolt. Managed to get a small nut threaded down to whatever was left. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to weld on that nut to the stud and see if we can get it out. Alright, so I already went ahead, put my ratchet on it, broke it free, and you guys could probably see the nut right there moving. So it's completely free now. I'm just gonna wait for it to cool off and pull that out of there. All right, so first attempt was a fail. You can see the nut just broke right off right there. It didn't take any more of the stud with it. It just didn't hold. So I'm gonna try it again. All right, so what I ended up doing was welding a washer right on top of the broken stud. And then once I got good penetration on it, I grabbed another larger bolt, a 14 millimeter, and I welded that onto the washer. Now the trick here is to make sure you get really good penetration because you want this to hold up nice and strong when you're trying to remove it. So I tried regular ratchet and it wasn't moving at all. So I said, screw it, while it's hot, I'm gonna hit the impact gun. So it's what I did, and the impact gun pulled it right out. So I'm glad it's out now. Cleaned off the thermostat very quickly and I got it sitting in some water right now. I'm trying to wait for the water to boil up, We'll see if the thermostat opens, but more importantly, we'll see if it closes fully once it cools back off. Alright, so I can now see the thermostat is fully opened up. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cool off. So after cooling off, it does appear that the thermostat has fully closed, as you can see. So I'm going to put the gasket back on it, clean up the mating surface over there, and we're going to put this bad boy right back on the car. I'm going to run a tap inside of the threads right here, make sure everything's nice and clean. Alright, so I cleaned up the one bolt that we got out of it. I ran a dye through it to clean up the threads. But now I want to clean up the threads on the engine. So I'm going to use a tap for that. And because of space constraints, you can't really get this little T-handle inside of there. So what I did is I just grabbed a nut and I welded it right on top. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and now I'm finally getting around to it. So what that allows me to do is come from up here, start running in the tap, and now I have a 14 millimeter where I could just put my ratchet on it and run the tap in. So I'm going to do that for both of the bolt holes right here. Yeah, pretty sweet. I like this little mod. Like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a while, and it looks like it's going to work very well. Okay, so I found a replacement bolt. You see the black one is the original one. This new one is just a hair shorter, but it's perfectly fine. This mating surface is all cleaned up. This surface is all cleaned up. I cleaned up the gasket on the thermostat, and everything is put in there. Check the threads, everything's nice and clean, and both of the bolts going with no problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and bolt this down right now. After I get this part installed, I'm going to finish with the radiator. Everything went on perfect, no problems at all. The housing is nice and secure. At this point, the only concern that I have is whether or not that O-ring for the thermostat is going to seal because it is worn out. I had to make a little bit of a clearance slot right there in my case to accommodate the nut that I welded on. You can see it fits perfectly now, so that's good enough in my book. Okay, so as you can see, I got the old radiator out of the car, and here goes the new one from AutoZone. It looks to be the same one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pop it in. I got the new radiator in, got the fans installed and bolted down. Everything went in pretty smooth. The fans gave me a little bit trouble. They just didn't line up 100%. You know how it is with aftermarket parts. But we got there in the end. So it's just full throttle ahead. Remember when I was first looking at the car, how we saw a leak coming off of this hose right here? And I mean, the overflow tank and the hose is brand new, so why is it leaking? Well, look what I found. There is a slice in the hose that looked like a razor blade. That's why it was leaking. It's not a big issue. I'll just cut it down here and start over fresh. We got plenty of hose to work with. Alright, so it's not perfect, but you guys remember all the crap that was inside of the cap. So went ahead and cleaned it up. And now it's time to fill up the cooling system. And after I do that, well, I'm going to fill it up, pressure test it, then put the battery in it. So I filled up the system with coolant, pressurized the system, and we are losing pressure slowly. I checked the radiator, everything's good. I don't see anything dripping off of it, but we are dripping out of this housing down there, you can see. Yeah, so that gasket for the thermostat, it's not doing anything. It's completely flattened out. I go ahead and spray down there to get rid of the coolant that's sitting there. You see it come right back. Okay, so there's no way around it. It needs a new gasket or O-ring, whatever. And if I'm gonna go to the store to get an O-ring, guess what? It's getting a new thermostat. On my way to AutoZone to get a thermostat and a gasket in this freaking mess. Look at this. Damn you, Mother Nature. Alright, so we got a Duralast thermostat and a new O-ring, so let's go ahead and pop them on the car. So I put the new thermostat on, new O-ring, and made a little bit of a difference, but no dice, it was still leaking. At this point, we're gonna have to use some silicone that's made for a water pump, so it's antifreeze safe. I don't like doing this, but I'm kind of out of options here. Okay, I'm tired of this thing leaking. I got too much time invested in it, and it's still freaking leaking even with the new parts. Granted, I've had some bad luck with AutoZone thermostats. It is what it is, but I can't put no more time into this. I can't get any other different parts for it, so we're gonna have to use silicone. Look at this mating surface. Even though I have it nice and clean, it is pitted up. Okay, so that could be contributing as well. So after putting the silicone on, I let it sit for about an hour before I topped off the system, and it is holding pressure. That's exactly where I put it up to. Well, even if we are losing pressure from somewhere else on this piece of crap, the thing I'm concerned about is we're no longer dripping from the thermostat. So I know the radiator's not leaking, and now the thermostat is no longer leaking. Beyond that, I'm done, okay? Alright, so the car has been running for about 30 minutes, and as you can see, we are not overheating. Actually, we are just about at operating temperature. And if you look at the scanner here, you can see we're at about 208 degrees. And I'm just waiting for the cooling fans to kick on. They haven't kicked on yet, so I'm just letting it warm up and make sure they do turn on. So you can see we're steady creeping up here. Now we're at 210. But let's go outside. Check the radiator already. It's not leaking. Everything's good with the radiator. Let's go have a look at the thermostat. You can see that side of the thermostat looks nice and dry. Over here it also looks nice and dry. You could even come from this angle over here. Thermostat's a-okay, nothing's leaking, and I just felt the fans turn on. Yes, they are running. So we're all good. Everything's all set, fans are working, no more leaks. Ship it, get this piece of crap out of here. So that's it for this one. The owner asked if I looked into the turn signal issue, and no, I haven't. I just ran out of time. He's gonna have to bring it back some other day when I have a little bit more time and there's not a freaking blizzard going on outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right here. That's it. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you like, and see you guys next time.